Good evening, students. I am Rohit, and today we will start with the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Okay, so in the last class, we have completed the chapter Governor, and today we will start with the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Basically, these are two separate topics. See, suppose you buy a book from the market, then in that book, the Prime Minister is a separate chapter, and the Council of Ministers is a separate chapter. But today we are going to study both these chapters under the same topic, Prime Minister. Okay, so let us start the topic, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. And Council of Ministers. Okay, so we all know that in India we have parliamentary form of government, and according to parliamentary form of government, there are two types of executives. The first is the real executive, and the second is the nominal executive. We have already studied the nominal executive, and it is the President of India, whereas the real executive is the Prime Minister along with Council of Ministers. Okay, so remember, Prime Minister is the head of the Council of Ministers. So this chapter is under part 5th of the Constitution, and there are total 4 articles related to this topic: 74, 75, then 77 and 78. But for your examination, 74 and 75 are more important. So our entire focus would be on the article 74 and article 75. But first we will start with article number 75, and then we will start with article number 74. So let us start article number 75. Okay, so in article 75 there are many clauses, and we will be discussing all the clauses. Okay, so the first clause of article 75 says that the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President. Okay, sorry, shall be appointed by the President. Okay, just one more thing to remember: we may not follow the exact sequence of clause, but we will discuss surely all the clauses of article 75. So the first point in article 75 is about the appointment of Prime Minister. So remember, the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President. Now what is the implication of this statement? Now remember, the first thing that you have to remember when you see this line, that the Council of Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President, it simply means that in our country the Prime Minister is not elected but appointed. There is no election for the Prime Minister of India. The Prime Minister is always appointed. See, there is a general misconception that we have elected the Prime Minister, we have given the vote, and that is why the Prime Minister is elected in our country. We usually say in this way that the Prime Minister is elected, but the fact is that according to Constitution, the Prime Minister is not elected but appointed, and this article is the proof. Okay, so the first thing that you should remember under article 75 is that PM is not elected. PM is not elected but appointed. Okay, so in short, PM is appointed and not elected. Okay, so on what basis the Prime Minister is appointed? I mean, see, if you read the first line, the PM shall be appointed by the President. So this shows that the President can appoint anyone as the Prime Minister. See, this particular statement gives an illusion that the President is all powerful and the President can appoint any person as the Prime Minister. But we all know that in reality this is not the case. But someone who is not aware about the Indian situation or Indian Constitution, if he will read this statement that the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President, this statement indicates that it is up to the President that whom should be appointed as the Prime Minister of India. Okay, but we should not be misguided by the statement. Remember, in India we have parliamentary system. In India we have parliamentary system, and remember, according to parliamentary system, the party which secures the majority in the Lok Sabha, the nominee of such party is appointed as the president, is appointed as the prime minister by the president. So it doesn't mean that the president is going to appoint anyone as the prime minister. The president has to follow the parliamentary convention, and the parliamentary convention expect that the president will appoint a person as the prime minister who has secured majority in the Lok Sabha. So the second point that you have to remember is that according to parliamentary system, the person who has secured, not the person, we can write the party which has secured majority in the Lok Sabha, okay. So the party which has secured the majority in the Lok Sabha, the nominee of such party is appointed as the prime minister. So is this clear that the prime minister is appointed by the president, but the president has to follow the parliamentary convention, and as per the parliamentary convention, the president can appoint only that person as the prime minister who is nominated by the party which has secured majority in the Lok Sabha. Okay. So there is no discretion of the president. I mean, the president cannot appoint prime minister in his discretion, but there is one such case where the president can exercise his discretion while appointing the prime minister. Now suppose after election no single party secured majority in the Lok Sabha and the coalition is not possible, or because of the sudden death of prime minister or the sudden fall of the government. In these circumstances, it might not be possible for any party to form the government. So in these cases, the president has the discretionary power to appoint the prime minister. So yes, the president can appoint the prime minister under his discretion, but there are only specific circumstances or specific cases where the president can exercise discretion, and those circumstances are the sudden death of prime minister and there is no nominee, or the sudden fall of the government because of the loss of majority, or after the election no single party is able to secure the majority and there is no coalition possible at present. So in these cases, the president can exercise his discretionary power while appointing the prime minister. So I hope these two things are clear, that the PM is not elected but appointed, and parliamentary system convention is the party which secured the majority in the Lok Sabha, the nominee of such party is appointed as the prime minister. Now one more thing, right now what I have said is that the right now what I have explained is that the president can appoint a person only when he has proved majority in the Lok Sabha. So you should not think in this way that a person can become a prime minister only when he has proved majority in the Lok Sabha. Vice versa is also possible. It means the president can appoint a person even without proving majority in the Lok Sabha. So a person can be appointed as the prime minister without proving majority in the Lok Sabha, but such a person appointed has to prove majority within a specified time period. So ideally, what should be the scenario? That the president should appoint a person as the prime minister who has majority in the Lok Sabha. But the opposite is also possible, that a person can be appointed as the prime minister and then he might be asked to approve majority in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so this is also possible. So we can also write this particular point, that a person can be appointed as prime minister. Person can be appointed as prime minister without proving majority in the Lok Sabha. Without proving majority in the Lok Sabha. Without proving majority in the Lok Sabha. But such a person appointed has to prove majority within a specified time period. Within a specified time period. So I hope this thing is clear, that it is possible for the president to appoint a person who has not secured majority in the Lok Sabha. See, this happened for the first time with Chaudhary Charan Singh. See, in the 6th Lok Sabha, in the 6th Lok Sabha, Morarji Desai government was not able to prove majority after 1 year or 2 years. So what happened after 1.5 years or 2 years, that the Morarji Desai government lost majority in the Lok Sabha. So when the Morarji Desai government lost majority in the Lok Sabha, at that time, then President Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, he appointed Chaudhary Charan Singh as the Prime Minister, and he asked Chaudhary Charan Singh to prove majority within this particular time period. So this happened for the first time with Chaudhary Charan Singh. So Chaudhary Charan Singh is the first example at the center where he was appointed as the Prime Minister without proving majority in the Lok Sabha. However, even he also resigned after 6 months or 7 months. Okay, so this happened for the first time with Chaudhary Charan Singh, and there are number of cases in Indian history where you will find that a person has been appointed as Prime Minister without proving majority in the Lok Sabha, and the same is possible in the states. See, in states there are multiple examples where you will find that a person has been appointed as Chief Minister without proving majority in the Legislative Assembly, and then he later on became the Chief Minister and proved the majority. Okay, either through the coalition or any other way. Okay, so I think these 3 points are clear. So when it comes to the appointment of Prime Minister, we need to remember a few important points. The first is that the President appoints the Prime Minister. It means the Prime Minister is not elected, but he is appointed. The second thing, the President cannot appoint any other person or any random person as the Prime Minister. Ideally, the Constitution expects that the person who has secured majority in the Lok Sabha, only that person will be appointed as Prime Minister by the President. But it is not always the case. The other can also happen. It means a person can be appointed as Prime Minister without proving majority in the Lok Sabha, but such a person has to prove majority within a specified time period. In many books, it has been mentioned that within 6 months. But the fact is that it depends upon the President of India that in how many months he should prove majority. Okay, and later on Delhi High Court clarified that it is not at all necessary that the person first should prove majority and then only he can become the Prime Minister. See, as per the Indian constitutional scheme, the person who becomes the Prime Minister should have the majority. Okay, ultimately he should prove the majority or he should have the confidence of the House. So it is not at all necessary that you have to first prove majority and then you will be appointed as Prime Minister. The vice versa is also possible. It means we can appoint you the Prime Minister and then we can ask you to prove majority in the Lok Sabha. So both the conditions are possible. So with this we have completed the appointment of Prime Minister. And now what about the appointment of other Council of Ministers? Okay, so this was for the Prime Minister. Now let us see the other Council of Ministers. Okay, so remember, other ministers are appointed by the President. Other ministers are appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. Now understand, see, in India all the ministers are appointed by the President, whether it is the Prime Minister or any other Council of Ministers. All the ministers in our country, I mean all the ministers at the central level, are appointed by the President. Now we have already understood that what is the meaning of the statement PM is appointed by the President. See, now we will start that what is the meaning of this particular statement, that other Council of Ministers are appointed by the President on the recommendation of PM. Now remember, this statement is 100% correct and the meaning is also 100% correct. Okay, remember, first President appoints PM and then PM recommends the name of those who should be appointed as the minister by the President. So the President can appoint only that person as the minister whose name was recommended by the Prime Minister. So without the wish of the Prime Minister, the President cannot appoint any other random person as the minister. So all the ministers are appointed by the President on the recommendation of PM. So without the recommendation of PM, the President cannot appoint any person as the minister in the Council of ministers. So we do not have to understand the hidden meaning of this particular statement. See, the first statement was the prime minister is appointed by the president. We have to understand the hidden meaning of it, okay, and these situations. But in this, we do not have to understand even the hidden meaning, because this statement is what it is, okay. So you don't have to understand the depth of it. Okay, so we are done with the appointment of president and prime minister, and now we can start with the third part, and the third part is the oath. Okay, so after appointment it comes the oath. So what happens with the oath? See, the oath to the prime minister and council of ministers. The oath to the prime minister and council of ministers are administered by the president. So it is the president who administers oath to the prime minister and the oath to the council of ministers, and you must have seen this ceremony in the you must have seen oath taking ceremony in Rashtrapati Bhavan. Whenever after the general election of Lok Sabha, you will find that there is a ceremony in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. We usually call it as Shapath Samaroh, and there you will find that first PM will take the oath in front of the president, and then all ministers one by one will take the oath in front of the president. So we all have seen this thing happening. So it is simple to understand that the president administers oath to the prime minister and council of ministers. So in short, all ministers are administered oath by the president of India. Okay, so this was with the oath. Now, fourth point. The fourth point is about who all can become the prime minister or ministers. Now remember, according to the constitution, prime minister or a minister, they can be a member of either house of the parliament. Okay, so a person who is a member of Lok Sabha can also be appointed as prime minister, or a person who is a member of Rajya Sabha can also be appointed as prime minister. So in India, the prime minister can be from either house of the parliament. A member of Lok Sabha can also be appointed as prime minister, or a member of Rajya Sabha can also be appointed as prime minister. In short, you have to be a member of parliament for appointment as the prime minister of India. And the same case is with the minister. See, majority in the Lok Sabha is required. So be it prime minister or council of minister, they hold office so long they have majority in the Lok Sabha. So the majority in Lok Sabha is compulsory. But you could be a member of either house of the parliament, be it Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay. So in India, the prime minister or minister can be a member of either house of the parliament. Okay. And one more thing, to be a member of Lok Sabha, your age should be 25 years at least. And to be a member of Rajya Sabha, your age should be at least 30 years. So it means the minimum age for becoming the prime minister or the minister is 25 years. Okay. So at the age of 25 years, you can become the prime minister of this country or the minister of this country. Okay. So it is possible. 25 or 30 years. Now, right now I have discussed that in India, see why I have said this, that in India the prime minister can be from either house of the parliament, because in Britain, if you will compare this situation with Britain, in Britain what you will find that the prime minister should always be from the lower house. See, in Britain there are two houses. The first is the upper house and the second is the lower house. In India, Lok Sabha is the lower house. Similarly, they also have lower house. But remember, in Britain, the prime minister should always be a member of lower house and not the upper house. Okay, because the Britain's upper house is the weakest upper house in the world. Okay, so their upper house does not have any value. So that is why they require that the prime minister should always be from the lower house. But in India, there is no such compulsion. The prime minister can be from either house of the parliament, and same is the case with the ministers. Okay, but it is possible that a person who is not a member of either house of the parliament can also be appointed as the prime minister. But such a person appointed has to become a member of either house of the parliament within 6 months. So this particular statement was very important for you, that it is, see, right now what we have discussed, that the prime minister should be a member of either house of the parliament, and the same is for the ministers, that you should be a member of parliament. But the fact is that a person who is not a member of parliament, he can also be appointed as prime minister or council of minister or as a minister, but he has to become a member. Now, to become a member, you can either go for election or nomination. Now, it depends upon the circumstances, but yes, even an elected or nominated member, both are eligible to become the prime minister or minister. we want you to be a member of parliament, whether it is the election or by nomination, you can become prime minister or minister. So this is the point that we should write, and it is that a person can be appointed as prime minister, a person can be appointed as prime minister or minister without being a member of parliament, without being a member of parliament, but such a person appointed has to become a member of either house within 6 months. So this 6 months is important. Okay, remember, you should remember that it is 6 months in which you have to become a member of either house of the parliament. And remember, this is only one time opportunity. You cannot misuse this provision. I mean, suppose you have appointed a person who is not a member of either house of the parliament as the minister. Okay, and now he has been given 6 months to become a member of either house of the parliament, but within these 6 months he failed to become a member. So you cannot misuse this provision, and you can again appoint him as the prime minister after giving him some break, and then you will again give him the 6 months opportunity. And suppose again he is not able to become the member, then after a few days you again appointed him as the minister and said again you take 6 months. You cannot misuse this provision by keep on appointing him as the minister and giving him 6 months extension. No, according to Supreme Court, this is one time provision. I mean, you will be given opportunity only once. In this opportunity, you should become a member of either house, either through election or nomination, but this opportunity cannot be given more than once. So it is only one time opportunity. Okay, so I hope this point is clear, that we can become a minister or a prime minister without being a member of parliament. Okay, so this is the important point. Now, moving ahead. Now, what about the salary of the prime minister and council of minister? So you do not have to remember that how much they receive. Now, that is not important. But what is more important, that who determines that how much the president, or sorry, how much the prime minister or council of ministers should receive. So who is going to decide? Now remember, the salaries and allowances of prime minister and council of ministers are determined by the parliament. Okay, so the salaries and allowances of ministers, now be it prime minister or minister, are determined by the parliament. Okay, so see, usually there is a curiosity among the students that what is the salary of the prime minister, what is the salary of minister. See, that is not at all important for examination, that how much they are receiving. What is more important is that who determines that how much the prime minister should receive and how much minister should receive. And basically, the prime minister or minister receives the salary what is given to a member of parliament. So the basic salary is equal to a member of parliament, but because they are prime minister or council of ministers, so that's why they get additional allowances and all. Okay, additional money for the expenditure allowances, but the basic pay is equivalent to a member of parliament. Okay, so now next is what about the resignation? So when it comes to the resignation of prime minister or minister, the resignation of prime minister or a minister is given to the president. See, president has appointed prime minister, he has also appointed ministers. So remember, they give their resignation to the president of India. This is simple. Okay. Now, after resignation, we will study the removal of ministers, that how they are removed from the office. Okay, so let us start the removal. And for removal, we have to understand that according to Article 75, ministers shall hold office ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Okay. So according to Article 75, it is simply, it is clear that the ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. And now here the word ministers also includes prime minister. So the word ministers also include prime minister. So all the ministers are covered under the general term ministers. Okay. So this ministers include both prime minister and council of ministers. And now, see, we all know the status of prime minister is different, and the status of other council of ministers is also different. Okay, you cannot compare prime minister with other council of ministers. The status of prime minister is far above the other council of ministers. However, it is said that prime minister is first among the equals, but the fact is that we cannot compare the status of prime minister with that of other ministers, because it is because of the prime minister that other ministers are appointed. And once the prime minister recommends a name of a minister for removal, then the president shall remove that minister. Okay, so it is upon the wish of the prime minister. It depends upon the prime minister that who should become the minister and who should be removed from the office of minister. Okay, so literally we cannot, the best way to describe the position of prime minister is that he is the moon among the stars and not first among equals. So let me write this, that you will hear these two. The first is that prime minister is first among equal. Prime minister is first among equal. But remember, this is the ideal situation, that prime minister is just the first among the equals. But the fact is, prime minister is not first among the equals. Prime minister is moon among the stars. Prime minister is moon among stars. It means he is more important than other council of ministers, and you cannot simply compare the prime minister with other ministers. Okay, actually what happened when India attained independence, at that time the first government, in that government Pandit Nehru was present as and he was the prime minister, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was also there as the home minister. But remember, so long Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was there in the cabinet, the status of Pandit Nehru was the first among equals. Okay, but when Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel died, then the status of Nehru became moon among the stars. It was because of the status of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Okay, so but after the death of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, no one could match the aura of Pandit Nehru or even his status, and that is why after the death of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Nehru was considered as moon among the stars. But so long Patel was alive, Pandit Nehru was considered as first among equals. Okay, so I hope this is clear that we cannot simply compare the status of prime minister with other council of ministers. And now remember, the ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. So first we will start with the prime minister, that what happens with the prime minister. Now remember, all the ministers hold office during the pleasure of the president. So let us first write about the prime minister. So according to constitution, prime minister holds office. Prime minister holds office during the pleasure of the president. During the pleasure of the president. Okay. First we will study about the prime minister, and then we will study about the other ministers. So according to constitution, how long the prime minister remains in office? It is during the pleasure of the president. But remember, someone might feel that the president is very powerful in India because the prime minister holds office during the pleasure of the president. So this particular statement again might give an illusion that yes, in India the president has the authority to remove prime minister at any time, because by reading this statement you will feel that the prime minister is at the mercy of the president. The president can remove prime minister at any time. But the fact is, in India we have parliamentary system, and according to parliamentary system, President cannot appoint any random person as the Prime Minister. He must observe the parliamentary system. I mean, he should work according to the features of parliamentary system. This we have already discussed, that president cannot appoint any person as the prime minister, because there is the parliamentary system in our country, and according to parliamentary system, the president should appoint a person who has the majority in the Lok Sabha. So on the same principle, the president cannot remove the prime minister. Okay, so whenever I ask this question from students, that you tell me what is the time period of prime minister, I mean how long prime minister stays in office, what is the tenure of prime minister. So majority of the students says that the tenure of prime minister in India is 5 years. Okay, and it is general habit. It is the general habit that for us the tenure of prime minister is 5 years. So we consider that prime minister is there for 5 years. Okay, but the fact is, according to the constitution, there is no time period for the prime minister. According to constitution, prime minister is there in the office so long there is the pleasure of the president. So it means saying that prime minister holds office for a period of 5 years is wrong. Okay, either it's constitutionally or factually. In both the cases, this statement is wrong. In India, there is no tenure of prime minister. So then what is the tenure of prime minister? The answer is simple. How prime minister was appointed? You simply tell how prime minister was appointed. The president can appoint only that person as the prime minister who has the majority in the Lok Sabha. So long that person has the majority in the Lok Sabha, he remains the prime minister. So it means, what is the actual tenure of prime minister? The answer is simple. You became the prime minister because you had the majority in the Lok Sabha, and you will remain the prime minister so long you have the majority in the Lok Sabha. Then again students wonder that why then the prime minister come for a maximum period of 5 years. It is not the 5 years which is the term of prime minister, no, it is the term of Lok Sabha. The life of Lok Sabha is 5 years, and we have to prove majority in the Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha automatically dissolves after 5 years, and that is why we think that the tenure of prime minister is 5 years. But the fact is, it is the tenure of Lok Sabha and not of the prime minister. In the same Lok Sabha, there could be multiple prime minister. For example, in the 6th Lok Sabha, for 1 or 2 years, Morarji Desai remained prime minister, and then for few months, Chaudhary Charan Singh became the prime minister. So in the 6th Lok Sabha, there were total 2 prime minister. One there for 2 years, and I am not sure about the exact months, but yes, he didn't complete even more than 3 years. So in the 6th Lok Sabha, there were 2 prime ministers. So the prime minister remains in office so long he has the majority in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so right now if you think that the Narendra Modi is there for only for 5 years, no. Narendra Modi is prime minister of this country so long he is able to hold the coalition. See, BJP was not able to secure majority in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so what happened? BJP entered into a coalition with 2 other parties. Okay, that is why Narendra Modi became the prime minister, because he was able to hold the coalition government. But the fact is, Narendra Modi is prime minister so long, the other parties are also supporting him. If suppose Nitish Kumar withdraws the support from the government, or the Chandrababu Naidu withdraws the support from the government, then the Narendra Modi might not be able to prove majority in the Lok Sabha, and in this circumstance, in this case, the prime minister will resign. So Narendra Modi is prime minister so long the coalition exists between the BJP and the other 2 parties, and once that coalition is no longer in power, or I mean so long the coalition remains in force, the Narendra Modi will remain the prime minister, and once the coalition is broken, then the Narendra Modi cannot remain the prime minister. Okay, so I think this is clear that the prime minister shall hold office so long he enjoys majority in the Lok Sabha. Majority in the Lok Sabha. So it means president cannot remove the prime minister just like that. For this, there is a parliamentary convention, and the parliamentary convention is prime minister will be there in the office so long he is having majority in the Lok Sabha, and so long prime minister commands majority in the Lok Sabha, he cannot be removed by the president. This is the fact. So right now what we understood is that the president cannot any random person as the prime minister, and similarly he cannot remove prime minister just like that. The president must observe or follow the constitutional principle, that is the parliamentary convention. Okay, this is what parliamentary convention expect from the president. And remember, if the president is not observing parliamentary convention, then he can be removed from his office on the ground of violation of the constitution. Because in our constitution you will find that there is parliamentary system. Article 74 and Article 75 are responsible for establishing parliamentary form of government. So if the president is trying to do things on his own, that is under in his discretion, then in that case the president can be removed from the office on the ground of violation of the constitution. So I think this is clear that what is the tenure of prime minister. So the tenure of prime minister is simple. He enjoys he stays in the office so long he enjoys majority in the Lok Sabha. So this is the for the prime minister, that what is the tenure of prime minister. Now what about the other ministers? So apart from prime minister, the other ministers also hold office. Other ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. During the pleasure of the president. Okay, so but again you have to understand that again it is not possible that the president can remove any other minister. No. See, while appointment, during appointment, the president appointed only those persons as ministers whose names were recommended by the prime minister. Without the recommendation of the prime minister, the president can never appoint any person as the minister. It only happens on the recommendation of the prime minister. The same is the case with the removal. It is only on the recommendation of the prime minister that the president removes that particular minister from the office of minister. Okay, so the answer is simple. President can never remove a minister from the office just like that. It is always on the recommendation of the president. So the president can remove a minister from the office only on the recommendation of the prime minister and not without it. Okay, so and one more thing, we are done with the appointment and appointment qualification. Then we have also completed the removal part, and now there is one important point, and which is actually the foundation principle of parliamentary form of government, and that point is collective responsibility. According to Article 75 clause 3, the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Now remember, we have already discussed this provision separately. You remember that while explaining the parliamentary form of government, I explained that the main difference between the parliamentary system and presidential system is the principle of collective responsibility. Collective responsibility means that the executive is responsible to the legislature for all the act policies. So this is the same point. Council of Ministers constitute the executive part of the union government. So they constitute the executive part of the union, and this is the legislative part of the union. So executive shall be responsible to the legislature. This is the foundation principle of the parliamentary form of government. So we can write that, I'm not going to write this point, but we can simply say that this particular point is the foundation of parliamentary form of government. Executive responsible to the legislature. So here we can mention that Council of Ministers are part of executive, whereas Lok Sabha is the legislature. And according to parliamentary system, executive shall be responsible to the legislature. This is the defining principle of parliamentary form of government. And I hope you also remember that in presidential system, the executives are not responsible to the legislature for all the acts and policies. This is the case with the United States of America, where there is presidential form of government and not the parliamentary system. Okay, so this is the Council of Ministers responsible to the Lok Sabha. Okay, and that is why the no confidence motion can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. See, a minister can be a member of either house of the parliament, but he enjoys majority only in the Lok Sabha. So only Lok Sabha has the authority, or I should say only Lok Sabha has the power to introduce no confidence motion. Only Lok Sabha can introduce no confidence motion. Only Lok Sabha can move no confidence motion against the ministers. Okay, and if the no confidence motion is passed in the Lok Sabha, then the government must resign, because according to parliamentary convention, it is important, or I mean it is compulsory, that the government can remain in the power so long it enjoys the confidence of the Lok Sabha. So that is why if the no confidence motion is passed in the Lok Sabha, then the government must resign, and if the government is not willing to resign, then the president has the authority to remove the government from the office. So the government can remove, the president can remove the government from the office only when the when the government has lost majority in the Lok Sabha. So it is irrelevant whether the government has the majority in the Rajya Sabha or not. It is always about the Lok Sabha. Okay. So we have completed Article 75. All the provisions of Article 75 are over. And now we can discuss article number 74. No, before discussing article 75, let us also discuss the structure of Council of Ministers. Okay, so there are total 3 types of minister in Council of Ministers, and the first is cabinet ministers. The second is ministers of state. Minister of state. And minister of state is of 2 types. The first is independent charge, and the second is attached, and the third is deputy ministers. Deputy ministers. So remember, there are total 3 types of Council of Ministers. The first is the all-powerful cabinet ministers. They are responsible for taking all the major decisions, and other ministers have to just follow what the cabinet ministers have taken as a decision. Then the second is the Minister of State. Now the Minister of State is of 2 types. The first is independent, the second is attached. Here independent means he is independent of the cabinet minister. Whatever the ministry, I mean if he has been given a ministry or department, then he will be able to run that ministry independently. I mean he is not dependent upon the cabinet minister. Whatever charge you have given him, he will be responsible for that charge, be it a ministry or department. But when we say he is an attached minister, attached means he is attached to the cabinet minister, so he functions under the overall responsibility of cabinet minister, whereas he is not responsible to the cabinet minister. In fact, he is independent. The word independent shows that he is independent from the cabinet minister. Okay, so attached means you work under the overall responsibility of cabinet minister. So no ministry is given to them, they are basically given a department. In a ministry there are many departments, so he might be given a department. No, so but the overall responsibility of that particular ministry will be of the cabinet minister, but he will be working under the cabinet minister and under his overall responsibility. Now the deputy ministers are not given any separate ministry or department. They usually assist other ministers. Okay, so they are of least importance. And one more thing, actually I failed to mention this earlier, but the point is the maximum strength of Council of Ministers. Let me write it separately. According to the Constitution, there is maximum strength of Council of Ministers. Now, what is the maximum strength of Council of Ministers? It is the 15% of the total strength of Lok Sabha. Total strength of Lok Sabha. Now, this point is very important, and I have seen this point coming in the examination, that what is the maximum strength of Council of Ministers. So, the maximum strength of Council of Ministers is 15% of the total membership of the Lok Sabha, and remember, this 15% also includes the Prime Minister. So together, I mean Prime Minister and Council of Ministers together should constitute not more than 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. Now, this particular provision of 15% was inserted by the 91st Amendment Act of 2003. It was by the 91st Amendment of 2003 that the 15% limit was imposed at the center. So, this was done in order to ensure that ministers, I mean, no member of parliament is rewarded with a ministry when he decides to defect from his party. See, there's a law called anti-defection law. And what used to happen in our country, in fact, to this day, what happens in our country is that if a member of a particular party is given, if a particular member of a political party tries to join any other party, then sometimes that party gives him the reward. Okay, so this is usually common in India, that many member of opposition tries to join the ruling party so that they can get reward from the government. And in India, Indian politics is notorious for this, that in India we do not have any ethics or principles in the politics. It is all about the money and the power. So that is why we have seen that members of a particular political party are frequently switching sides. If they think that this particular party is going to come to the power, or this party is in the power and we are in the opposition, then we might get benefit if we join the ruling party. And this is happening in the country. This is not something that I have said. This is something which is usual, common, and you must have seen, observed anyway. In all these states, this used to happen. I mean, not all these states, but yes, this is the scenario in our country where where the members of political party are switching sides just for the reward. Okay, so this is the grim situation of Indian politics, and there is no hope as such at present. Okay, so I hope you understood the maximum strength of Council of Ministers, and that is 15% of the total strength of Lok Sabha. Okay, see, the maximum strength of Lok Sabha is, the total strength of Lok Sabha is 543. So you have to calculate 15% of 543, and if there is in decimal, then you simply round off. And the most important part is that this particular provision was added by 91st Amendment Act of 2003. And one more thing that you should remember is that if a member of parliament who has been disqualified on the ground of defection, see here ground of defection means under anti-defection law, which was inserted by 52nd Amendment Act of 1985 during the Rajiv Gandhi government. So what happened? We all know that Indian politics is notorious for defection. There is also an idiom of Indian politics, that Ayaram and Gayaram. Okay, so basically in India, which I have already discussed, that the members switch side for money or for power or for ministries. So Rajiv Gandhi government introduced anti-defection law by the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985, and by this amendment 10th schedule was inserted in the constitution. So it was an attempt by the Rajiv Gandhi government to stop the menace of defection. However, there were many loopholes in this law. So under anti-defection law, if a member is found guilty of defection, then he will be disqualified, not permanently, but for the entire life of Lok Sabha. For the entire life of Lok Sabha, so long that Lok Sabha exists, he will remain disqualified. Okay, but there are certain exceptions under the anti-defection law. But the important point is that by the 91st Amendment Act, one more provision was added, and it was that if a member of parliament is disqualified on the ground of defection, then he will also be disqualified to be appointed as minister. So if you are disqualified on the ground of defection, then you cannot, then you can also be not appointed as the minister. Okay. This is done to warn those individuals who are switching sides just for the ministry. So if you are found guilty of defection, then you will be disqualified as member of parliament, and once you are disqualified as a member of parliament, then you can also not be appointed as a minister in the government. Okay, so this was the maximum strength of Council of Ministers, 15% of the total strength of Lok Sabha. Okay, so we have discussed all the relevant points of Article 75, but still there are few points remaining. For example, we have still not discussed Article number 74. So let us first discuss Article 74. Okay, now remember, Article 74 basically deals with the status of advice of Council of Ministers given to the President. According to Article 74, what will be the status of the advice of Council of Ministers given to the President? So according to Article 74, the Council of Ministers, according to Article 74, the Council of Ministers shall give advice to the President in the exercise of his functions. So the President in the exercise of his function shall follow the advice of the Council of Ministers. So what Constitution expects from the President? That he should work according to the advice given by the Council of Ministers. But there was no explicit provision in the Constitution requiring the President to obey the advice of Council of Ministers. but it was left to the parliamentary convention that the president should observe the parliamentary convention and he should never exercise powers in his discretion. He should always follow the advice of council of ministers. This is what constitution expects from the president. So what happened? It was during the time of Rajendra Prasad. When Rajendra Prasad was the president, he tried to exercise his discretion on few bills. So what happened? Later on, the government, to be more precise, it was the Indira Gandhi government which introduced 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, and by this amendment it was made clear that the advice given by the Council of Ministers, by this amendment it was clear that the advice given by the Council of Ministers to the president shall be binding on the president. Binding on the president. So, in the original constitution, there was no mention about the advice binding on the president. So, in the original constitution, there was no mention of the advice which will be binding on the president, but it was only by the 42nd Amendment Act, when it was added in the constitution, that the advice given by the Council of Ministers shall be binding on the president. So, from now onward, there is no discretionary power with the president. The president must follow the advice of Council of Ministers. But by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, by the 44th Constitutional Amendment 1978, what was said that the advice given by the Council of Ministers to the president can be returned by the president. It means 44th Amendment Act authorized the president. It authorized the president to return the advice. To return the advice to the Council of Ministers. But remember, if the advice, suppose the Council of Ministers has recommended or has given the advice to the president that you impose president's rule in Bihar or West Bengal. Okay. So according to Council of Ministers, the president should impose president's rule in Bihar or West Bengal, any state. Okay. So this was the advice given by Council of Ministers. Now, according to 44th Amendment Act, the president can return the advice. So the president asked the Council of Ministers that you please reconsider the advice that you have given. So Council of Ministers reconsidered the advice and they again reiterated that you impose president's rule in West Bengal or Bihar. Okay. So now remember, according to 44th Amendment Act, it is possible for the president to return the advice to the Council of Ministers, but after reconsideration, if the same advice is again sent to the president, then the president should act according to such advice. So the president has no authority to return the advice in the second instance. He can return the advice only once, and in the second instance, he must work according to the advice given by the Council of Ministers. Okay. So the question can come like this, that which amendment authorized the president to return the advice? It was the 44th Amendment Act. And if the question comes like this, that which amendment authorized the president, which amendment made the president binding according to the advice of Council of Ministers? So it was 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. So I hope this is clear that what was the role of 42nd Amendment Act and 44th Amendment Act in the advice given by the Council of Ministers. Now this was the first part of Article 74. The second part of Article 74 says that the Council of Ministers, the advice given by the Council of Ministers, the advice tendered by Council of Ministers to the president shall not be inquired into any court. It means whatever the advice the Council of Ministers has given to the president, the nature of such advice is not going to be questioned in the court. Okay, so the court cannot inquire into the nature of the advice given by the Council of Ministers. Okay, this shows the intimate relation of the Council of Ministers and the president. Okay, the courts are not supposed, the courts are barred from entering this domain. Okay, so this is the second point of Article 74, that the advice should not be called into question in any court of law. Okay, so this was Article number 75 and Article 74. Okay, and with this we have completed all the important points in this chapter, and tomorrow we will start with the topic Parliament. Okay, and remember, the Parliament is I mean, the parliament is important for you because it is the most, I mean, it is the lengthiest part of our syllabus, because in parliament there are many articles, and it is also important from an examination because many questions frequently come from the chapter parliament. See, parliament and president, and then one more fundamental right. These are very important for examination. Okay. Okay. I'm not able to understand. Hrithik, you are saying that recorded video. What kind of recorded video you are talking about? I mean, I'm not able to understand what recorded video. Okay. So I think we are done for the day. Tomorrow, that is Saturday, we will start with the parliament. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. So goodbye, everyone.